I've lived in Washington state all my life, but I didn't understand how lonely the forests could feel until the summer of 2019. I was 26 at the time and had developed a habit of taking solo camping trips in the Cascades to unwind from work. I never had any real issues, maybe the occasional black bear sighting or weird noises at night, but nothing that made me feel unsafe. That changed on one trip in late July. I picked a spot near Baker Lake, quiet, isolated, and with just enough cell service to call for help if needed. When I arrived, my campsite was completely empty. I set up my tent, made a small fire, relaxed for a while, and watched the sky darken behind the thick tree line. At around 9 p.m., just when the forest had fully gone quiet, I heard leaves crunching behind my tent. At first, I thought it was an animal. But then the footsteps slowed and stopped right behind the thin fabric wall of my tent. "Hello?" I called out. No answer. But the steps didn't back away either. My heart started racing. I grabbed my flashlight, unzipped the tent, and shined it out into the trees. That's when I saw him. A man, maybe mid-30s, standing about 6 feet away in a dirty red backpack, staring at me with the most expressionless face I'd ever seen. Not surprised. Not embarrassed. Just staring. "Can I help you?" I asked, trying to sound confident. "You're in my spot," he said calmly. My stomach twisted. There were no assigned spots out here. It was open wilderness camping. "I didn't see anyone here when I arrived," I replied. He took a step closer, his boots crunching softly. "I was here first," he said again, this time with a tiny, unsettling smile. I didn't argue. I just said, "Okay, do you want me to leave?" He stared at me for a long 5 seconds. Then he shook his head. "No. I'll stay too." He turned around and walked into the trees, disappearing into the dark. I didn't hear him walk far. In fact, for the rest of the night, I kept hearing motion in the bushes around my tent. Sometimes footsteps. Sometimes just breathing. I didn't sleep a second. At sunrise, I packed everything as fast as I could. As I lifted my tent, I saw something lying in the dirt right where he'd been standing the night before. A knife. A hunting knife, with a fresh smear of dried brownish red on the blade. Before I could react, a voice drifted from behind a tree. "You're leaving early." It was him. Standing half hidden in shadow, watching me. I didn't answer. I threw my stuff into my car and sped off down the gravel road. When I glanced in my rearview mirror, he was standing in the center of the road, watching me drive away, the same dead expression on his face. 2 days later, I checked the local news out of paranoia. A missing hiker's bulletin had gone up. One photo in particular made my blood run cold. A man with a red backpack. Same face. Same expression. Same dead eyes. They still haven't found him. I was driving home along Highway 101 between Forks and Aberdeen one cloudy October night in 2021. That stretch of highway feels endless, especially with the forest pressing in from both sides and fog drifting across the road like ghosts. Around 11 p.m., I saw something I'd never noticed before, a small, narrow turnoff that led down into a concrete drainage tunnel under the road. Curiosity 1. I pulled over, left the engine running, and flicked on my high beams. The tunnel was maybe 10 feet tall and wide, dripping with moss and water runoff. Graffiti covered the walls. My headlights reached maybe 30 yards inside, beyond that, total darkness. And then I saw movement. At first, I thought it was an animal. But whatever it was moved upright. Slow. Unsteady. Almost like someone walking with an injured leg. I stepped closer. And the figure came into the light. It was a man. Barefoot. Shirtless. Covered in dirt and scratches. His hair was wild and matted, and his eyes were wide open like he hadn't slept in days. He had deep bruises all over his ribs. He stared at me like he couldn't believe I was real. Then he whispered, "Is he gone?" Before I could respond, he flinched violently and pressed his back against the wall, shaking his head. "No, no, 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 you shouldn't be here, he's coming." My heart hammered. "Who's coming?" He shook even harder. "He drags people down here. He watches the road. He waits for cars." I didn't wait for more. I stepped backward toward my car. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Heavy ones. From deeper in the tunnel. The barefoot man's eyes widened with terror. "Run!" I sprinted for my car, jumped inside, slammed the door, and floored it. As I drove away, my headlights swept across the mouth of the tunnel. A tall figure stood there. Completely still. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Wearing something like a rain poncho, hood low over his face. He didn't chase. He didn't move. He just watched my car disappear into the fog. The next day, I drove back with 2 friends. The tunnel was still there, but the inside was empty. No barefoot man. No other figure. No footprints. Nothing. But someone had scratched fresh words into the concrete since the night before. He watches the road at night. Don't stop. Don't look. I haven't taken 101 after sunset since. This happened in 2017, during an overnight backpacking trip in the Hoh Rainforest in Olympic National Park. If you've never been there, imagine the quietest place on Earth, thick old growth trees, layers of moss dripping from branches, and a silence so deep you can hear your heartbeat. I was hiking alone and planned to camp near the river. Everything was normal until around 10 p.m., after the forest had gone pitch black. I'd just settled into my sleeping bag when I saw a light flicker through the trees. Not a flashlight. Not a lantern. It was a soft blue glow, moving slowly. I assumed it was another hiker, maybe someone getting lost or looking for a campsite, so I unzipped my tent and stepped outside. "Hello?" I called out. The light froze. I walked closer, crunching twigs under my boots, until I realized the light wasn't moving toward me anymore. Now it was circling me. One soft blue orb drifting silently around the trees. It wasn't a drone, too silent. And it wasn't a person's flashlight, it didn't reflect or flicker like lead. I felt my stomach twist. Then another light appeared behind me. Then another. 3 of them, surrounding me in a wide circle. None of them cast shadows. None of them made noise. They just hovered, drifting slightly like they were breathing. I backed slowly toward my campsite. That's when I heard it, footsteps. Human footsteps, quick, sharp, and rushing toward me through the brush. I froze. A voice whispered behind me, "Don't let them touch you." I spun around. A man in a ranger jacket, real or fake, I still don't know, stood there, breathing heavily, his face pale with fear. "Turn off your light," he hissed. "Don't run. Just walk." The blue orbs brightened, vibrating softly like insects trapped in glass. The ranger grabbed my arm, pulled me down the trail, and whispered, "They follow anything warm. They are not from here." I don't remember the next minute clearly, just running, the forest blurring, branches whipping past me, the feeling of being watched from every angle. When we reached the trailhead, the man disappeared into the trees without a word, like he'd never been there. I reported the incident to the visitor center the next day. They said no ranger was stationed in that area that night. And since then, a number of hikers have gone missing in the Hoh. Some search teams swear they saw unexplained lights in the trees at night. I don't go hiking alone anymore. I grew up in eastern Washington, where the nights are wide and empty and the desert wind makes the sagebrush whisper like voices. But nothing out there ever scared me, not until the night I saw someone walking the cliffs above the Columbia River at nearly 2 in the morning. It happened in September 2020. My friend Noah and I were driving back from Spokane to Ellensburg after visiting his brother. Instead of taking IR-90 the whole way, we pulled off at vantage to stretch our legs. The rest stop sits close to the huge canyon where the river carves its way between jagged basalt cliffs. At night, it's pitch black except for the moon. We parked, stepped out, and breathed in the cold desert air. Everything was silent until Noah elbowed me. "Dude! Look up there!" At first, I didn't see anything. Then my eyes adjusted. A person was walking along the cliff edge. Alone. No flashlight. No phone glow. Just walking. Their silhouette moved in slow, dragging steps, like they were balancing carefully, but they never fell. "Probably a hiker," I whispered, even though it made no sense. Nobody hikes the Vantage Cliffs at night. There are no trails. Just loose rock and sudden drop-offs. We watched for another minute. The figure stopped. Turned slowly. Then lifted one arm and pointed directly down at us. A chill crawled up my back. "Let's just go," Noah muttered. But the moment we turned, gravel crunched somewhere behind us. We spun around. The cliff was empty. The person was gone, not walked away, gone. Gone, like they'd never been there. No noise. No movement. Nothing but moonlit rock. Noah whispered, "There's no way they got down that fast." We hurried to the car and got inside. I started the engine. Then we both froze. Someone was standing at the edge of the parking lot. Same silhouette. Same height. Same slow posture. But now they were much, much closer. Their head was tilted sideways, like they were studying us. "Is that the same guy?" Noah whispered. The figure began to walk toward us, not fast, just a steady, dragging pace that somehow felt worse. I threw the car into reverse. My headlight swept across the person right as we backed up. That's when we saw their face. Or rather, we didn't. There was no face. Just pale skin where features should have been. No eyes. No nose. No mouth. Just a blank human shape with skin stretched smooth over it. Noah screamed, "Geo!" I floored it. Gravel shot from the tires, and we flew out of the rest stop. I didn't look back. I couldn't. When we reached the highway, my phone buzzed. A notification. "Airdrop request, look behind you." The preview showed a selfie, from behind our car, of the faceless person standing inches from the trunk. I nearly drove off the road. We didn't stop again until we were halfway to Ellensburg. When we checked my phone, the photo was gone. The airdrop history? Also gone. The next morning, I tried to rationalize everything. A weird prank. A trick of the light. Sleep deprivation. But later that week, I found an old Reddit thread from 2017. Someone claimed they saw a faceless man walking the Vantage Cliffs at night. 2 others replied that they had seen a person who appears suddenly in rest stops along the river. One comment chilled me. If he points at you, it means he's already behind you. I grew up in Washington, but the place that always made me uneasy wasn't the forests, or the fog, or even the endless quiet that creeps into your bones at night. It was the mountains. More specifically, the radio towers perched on the ridgelines above Snoqualmie Pass. Something about them always felt wrong. Too tall. Too thin. Too silent. Like they were watching the valley instead of transmitting anything. In the winter of 2020, I had a night that changed the way I see them forever. I was working for a small telecom contractor. Our job was simple: inspect outdated rural towers and report structural issues. I only did easy ones, low elevation, basic ladders, nothing intense. But in early December, our team got a strange request. A tower above Snoqualmie Pass had started broadcasting interference on emergency channels, static, whistling, strange tones. No other tower in the region reported problems. No known source. No scheduled transmissions. The emergency services complained, so we were told to investigate. The job came with 2 warnings. Don't go up after sunset. Don't shut off the power unless absolutely necessary. That second rule made no sense. Why wouldn't we shut off power during repairs? When I asked, the supervisor just shrugged and said, "Those are the instructions sent to us. Just follow them." I should have quit right there. The access road was blocked by fallen trees, so I had to hike 45 minutes uphill with snow up to my knees in some spots. The forest around Snoqualmie can feel alive in winter, branches sagging under ice, wind howling like voices echoing through tunnels. Every once in a while I'd hear a crack in the woods that sounded like footsteps trailing behind me. I kept telling myself it was the snow shifting. When I finally reached the ridge, the tower stood directly above me, 150 feet tall, metal frame black against the gray sky. Its warning lights flashed slowly, like they were breathing. Something felt off the moment I got close. There were fresh footprints at the base of the tower. But only one set. And they didn't lead away. They circled the tower repeatedly, over and over, like someone pacing in slow, deliberate loops. The patterns in the snow made my stomach twist. No one would walk like that unless they were lost, or waiting. I radioed my supervisor. Tower 9 appears to have signs of trespassing. Do we have anyone else scheduled up here? A burst of static answered me. Then a voice, low, slow, unfamiliar, whispered, "Don't touch the tower." I froze. "Who is this?" I asked. The static rose into a screech and the radio cut out completely. I told myself it was just interference, the exact problem I was here to fix, but I couldn't shake the feeling that the voice wasn't coming from my company's channel. I climbed the ladder anyway. Big mistake. At around 70 feet, something strange happened. The wind died instantly. No sound except my breathing. Even the metal stopped rattling. Then the tower began humming. A low vibration. Almost like a deep, steady note played through a giant speaker. It wasn't coming from machinery, I recognized voices in the hum. Layered whispers, hundreds of them, all too quiet to understand. I gripped the ladder tighter, trying to stay calm. That's when something touched my boot. I looked down. A face stared up at me from the bottom platform. It wasn't human, at least, not anymore. The skin looked stretched, dried, windburned. The eyes were too reflective, too glassy. And the mouth was open like it was mid-scream, but no sound came out. It took me a second to realize it was the face of a missing hiker I'd seen on posters at the ranger station 2 days earlier. But the body attached to the face moved. Jerkily. Like a puppet tugged by invisible strings. It tilted its head up at me. The jaw cracked sideways. And then, in a distorted version of my supervisor's voice, it said, "Do not shut off the power." I climbed faster than I've ever moved in my life. When I reached the top, the air felt wrong, charged, hot, buzzing with static. The transmitter box was visibly glitching, lights flashing in patterns I'd never seen before. Wires hummed like they were alive. The dish rotations kept stopping and starting, pointing randomly into the forest below. I knelt to inspect the relay switch. That's when the power suddenly cut. Complete silence. Complete darkness. The entire mountain went still. Then, a whisper rose from the forest below. Not one voice. Hundreds. They spoke in unison, low and vibrating. "Come down." I froze, heart hammering. The forest fell silent again. Then, footsteps started climbing the ladder. Slow. Wet. Heavy. One step at a time. I couldn't breathe. Something was coming up after me. I grabbed my emergency light, shined it down the center of the tower. And I swear on my life, there were multiple figures climbing upward. Not climbing like humans. Climbing like insects, arms twisted, backs arched, legs bending in ways that made my stomach twist. Their faces were wrong, some were stretched thin, some slack, some looked like they were rotting. but all of them stared straight up at me with dead, shining eyes. I made the worst possible decision. I jumped. It wasn't far to the middle platform, but I still hit hard. My vision cracked with white stars. Below me, the figures began screeching, not loud, but high, thin, metallic. Like radio static made of human voices. Then they started climbing faster. Too fast. I scrambled to my feet, half sliding down the ladder, half falling. I reached the base, sprinted into the trees, and didn't look back until I reached the trail. When I finally turned, every figure that had been climbing was now standing at the base of the tower. Watching me. Motionless. Their heads all tilted at the exact same angle. And above them, the tower lights flashed in a new pattern. 3 quick blinks. Pause. 3 blinks. Like it was signaling something. Or someone. I filed the shortest report of my life. Tower structurally unsafe. Recommend closure. 2 days later, the tower was quietly decommissioned. No explanation. No follow-up. My supervisor called and told me I was relieved of further mountain assignments. I quit the same day. But here's the part that still keeps me up at night. Last month, 3 years later, I was driving through Snoqualmie Pass at 2 a.m. Through the fog above the trees, I saw the silhouette of a tall structure. The same tower. Standing again. Lights flashing in that same pattern. 3 blinks. Pause. 3 blinks. As my car passed below it, my radio, turned off, crackled to life. A whisper came through, the same layered hum of voices I'd heard the night I was on the tower. We found another signal. I didn't look back. I don't drive the pass anymore. And when I see radio towers on mountain ridges, I don't assume they're transmitting anything human. Not anymore.